If you've been watching the news, you know inflation has been running very high for more than a year. This means we now pay more for gasoline and groceries. We're paying more for cars, and of course, we're paying more for houses too. When I turned 30 in 1995, the average home price in the U.S. was $112,000. 27 years later, the average home price on my birthday was $389,000, an increase of 247%, a 4.7% annualized growth. Lately, home prices have pushed higher faster than any time I've seen over those 27 years, and I'm reading and hearing concerns from people about home affordability. If you saw my recent video about home prices, you know that buying power dropped 40% from December 2021 to June 2022, so this is an epic home affordability erosion issue that homebuyers face today. Can you imagine being told you can now spend 40% less than you planned on a home while home prices grew by 10%? This is terrible news for homebuyers, yet there is more than meets the eye. Could buying a home today still be a smart hedge against inflation? After all, it's not just the cost of everything being inflated, wages are inflating too. Is today a logical time to rent a home, or should you consider buying one to win the battle against inflation? We know that the 130-year trend for home prices tells us that homes go up in value at a fairly consistent rate. There are periods when home prices fall, but most of the time, home prices rise. There were only 3 times home prices fell nationally over the past 100 years: the Great Depression, World War II, and the Great Recession. That's something to keep in mind, as most people assume prices rise and fall at a cyclical rate, and historically, that just hasn't been true. In this graph, we compare home price growth and equity growth with inflation. The U.S. Home Price Index is plotted in gray and has risen 348% since 1987. The Consumer Price Index, a measure of inflation, is plotted in blue and has risen 153% during the same period. But here's the big kicker. Sure, home prices have beaten inflation, but that isn't always true. Right now might be one of those times, but we won't know until we look back at the modified data. However, none of that matters. Most people don't pay cash for homes, so we don't compare home prices with inflation to see which is prevailing. Instead, we look at leveraged appreciation. One great benefit of owning real estate is that we get to realize gains from a property appreciating without having to put 100% cash down to own it. If somebody wants to realize the gains from $400,000 worth of Amazon stock, they would need to invest $400,000. But to realize the gains from a $400,000 home, most owner-occupants can do that with an investment of $40,000 or less. They're leveraging $40,000 to reap the benefits of a $400,000 asset. So when a home appreciates 10% and the homeowner spent roughly 10% to acquire the homeowner has realized a 100% growth rate in equity. Imagine the growth for owners who put 3.5% down on an FHA loan and their homes have appreciated 35% over the past 2 years. The red line in the graph plots equity growth from somebody buying a median-priced home in 1987, investing just 10% for the down payment and closing costs. While the home price index has soared, the equity gain blows it away. The equity growth of 3,477% since 1987 represents an annualized gain of just under 10%. Leveraged appreciation is the reason that home ownership is an excellent hedge against inflation. But what about the chaos in the market? Have prices soared so high that they must come down? Many people believe this will occur. But what about non-discretionary buyers? If you're somebody who has to move, maybe you're changing jobs, changing cities, having a major family change, whatever, what do? You can rent, but rents are skyrocketing. You can buy, but soaring home prices make for a tough decision. To help you evaluate your situation, I've assembled data from the past to help you apply it for today. And speaking of assembled data, it is the reason we have people subscribing to our channel. If you're a longtime subscriber, then you know I produce reports based on hard data all the time because there's so much rumor and gossip surrounding the housing market. If you're not a subscriber, please click the thumbs up like button and subscribe now so that you get all my new content when it is fresh. If you want to know what's going on in housing, to see and hear the data explained, to evaluate the facts and ignore the hype that is so prevalent online, then subscribe now and I'll keep you in the know. The most vocal concern I hear about housing today is that our situation is just like 2006. Though I've produced numerous articles and videos showing that today's housing market is in a very bad place, it is not in the same situation as we saw in 2006. There are some parallels though. The housing market was very active and home prices increased aggressively in both periods. But today, we have an inventory shortage, whereas in 2006, inventory was plentiful and growing. To help you make a buy versus rent decision today, I've produced the following graph that evaluates your cash positions for deciding to rent or buy a home today. For our regular viewers, you've seen this graph in a previous case study video. With so many people thinking the market will soon see plummeting home prices like we saw in 2006, I've used historical data to show that if one could go back in time to 2006 and face a decision on whether to buy or rent, the answer would be determined by the length of stay in the home. Remember, people who purchased at the top of the market in 2006 saw declining home prices until 2012, so it was a historically bad time to buy. As we go through this example, one should recognize that no answer is right for everybody, nor wrong for everybody. Instead, one must evaluate their own situation and react accordingly. This graph plots the cash position of buyers in blue and renters in red. The cash position is merely the combination of what has been spent with equity gained over time. So renters continue to decline over time, while owners, through leveraged appreciation, have the ability to move above zero if home values rise. As a reminder, home prices peaked in 2006, so people who purchased in 2006 faced 6 straight years of declining home prices. It was the worst time to buy a home in the past 80 years. Before we get to the analysis, I want to pre-comment to those who think buying a home when prices are falling is a terrible mistake. Remember, I have twice reminded the viewer that this buy versus rent analysis is for people who have to move. Buying might be painful, but renting is not free either. This analysis helps somebody facing this decision to have a good idea of what to do. People who stayed in their homes longer than 3.75 years spent less money than those who chose to rent. Home prices were dropping and rents were rising, so homeowners faced the worst housing market conditions in 80 years while renters faced fairly normal conditions. Either way, renters and buyers were out tens of thousands of dollars. It was so bad that buyers who sold their homes after 5 years had to bring cash to closing when they sold. Everybody selling at that time faced a hardship, yet the money required to sell their homes, combined with everything else they spent, was less than they would have paid in rent. If you're renting and you think you'll be relocating to another market in the next few years, you should continue to rent. You'll need to be prepared for huge increases when your lease renewals come around, as rents are soaring right now due to the limited supply of housing. There's a non-recoverable cost to rent, but it is likely less expensive than buying when you'll need to sell in a short period of time. But if you need to move now, whether it's a move up, move down, or move over, today's bad time to buy will deliver a better outcome for you than entering into a lease unless you can get a landlord to sign a long-term lease with minimal escalations each year. The housing market in most local U.S. metropolitan areas is grossly undersupplied with adequate housing for our growing population. So we know the long-term trend is continued rent and price increases, though we'll see some opposing trends along the way as the Fed increases rates to bring down inflation. This is a tough time in our history to be facing a move, but you're now armed with the information you need to make the best decision possible for you and your family. The cost of living will only go higher, whether buying or renting, so make the decision that will give you the best results for your desired time frame. If you want to see a video featuring the 7 critical steps in selling a home today, you can view it by clicking on the box in the top left corner of your screen. To see a popular video featuring my top 6 home selling tips, just click on the box below it. Please remember to like this video, check out the links below it, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything.